Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and welcome back to another one of my Death Battle prediction videos. Oh boy, we got a big one today. Today we're going to be analyzing the next episode of Death Battle coming up, which is the Archie comics version of Sonic versus Wally West Flash. And yeah, this is going to be insane, guys. We kind of have two returning combatants, although not really, because we had the Barry Allen version of Flash fight Quicksilver in Flash versus Quicksilver, and then we had, Sonic fight Mario twice, but this is specifically the Archie comics version of Sonic, which is like this super mega powerful broken version of Sonic. So yeah, very different from normal game Sonic. And I'm really surprised that they're doing this fight, honestly, just because normally when I think of Death Battle, I think of them analyzing like the simplest or most generic or most popular version of a character to not confuse the audience. So I'm surprised that they're going into the Sonic Archie comics at all, honestly. But Archie Sonic is the best opponent for someone like Wally West, you know what I mean? At least as far as that whole Flash versus Sonic debate is concerned. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for this one, honestly. I love both Sonic and Flash. They're two amazing characters. Obviously I'm much more of a superhero guy than I am, I still love Sonic, I still love him a ton, but I probably like Flash a little more just because, much more of a comic guy. I've loved Flash for like as long as I can remember, but both of these characters are really awesome characters. However, this is one of those fights that really gives me a headache. This is one of those fights where I'm really not sure, like, I have no idea who's going to win. This is going to be one of those fights like Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Kakashi, where I'm going to try to analyze these characters as best I can, and then just like make a guess based on what I know. I will still predict it, don't worry, I'm still going to give an answer, but this is one where I'm really not sure who's gonna win this fight, just ultimately. This is gonna be more me trying to predict how Death Battle is going to analyze this fight, rather than, me trying to give my own personal opinion, because again, it gives me a headache. I'm not sure if I even have my own concrete personal opinion on this fight, but it's more so gonna be me analyzing characters and trying to see how Death Battle is going to analyze that information specifically, because at this point I feel like that's the only way I can do it. And I know that no matter what I say, people are gonna disagree with me, and that's fine. I also know that no matter what I say, I'm going to have an extreme amount of doubt, because this is just a complicated fight, and I feel like no matter what I say, I'm going to be like, I could be throwing a correct point right in the trash, but again, I'd be saying that literally no matter who I went for, because it's just so complicated. But anyway, on to the analyzing. So, when you look at base Sonic, we're going to start with base Sonic just to keep things simple. When you look at base Sonic and Flash, and you look at their abilities, just at first glance, there are a couple of abilities that Flash has that Sonic is going to have a lot of trouble trying to overcome. There are two abilities in particular, actually. One of them is Speed Stealing, and the other one is Infinite Mass Punch. And I'm going to go over each of them specifically. So, the Speed Stealing, or the Kinetic Energy Absorption, is basically where Flash can absorb the kinetic energy of anyone or anything. And if this is applied to a person or an enemy, then that basically means that that enemy is frozen, he's stolen all of their kinetic energy, and, they're just a statue, essentially. Why he doesn't use this more often, I have no idea. This is just an OP ability that they decided to write into the Speed Force. But yeah, Flash doesn't use this very often, but realistically, he could just steal all of Sonic's speed, which is pretty overpowered just right off the bat. So there's that. That's something that's going to be extremely difficult for Sonic to be able to work around. But the other thing is the Infinite Mass Punch. Now, we've seen the Infinite Mass Punch talked about on Death Battle before. It was brought up in Goku vs. Superman, and it was brought up in the Wonder Woman battles, or at least the back two Wonder Woman battles, talking about Reverse Flash, punching her with the force of a white dwarf star, 2 petatons of TNT, or 2 quadrillion tons of TNT. But the thing is, it doesn't just have to cap at the white dwarf star level. Theoretically, speedsters can just keep vibrating it faster and harder in order to increase the mass to, whatever level they want to, as long as they vibrate hard enough and fast enough and long enough, you know what I mean? That's why it's called the Infinite Mass Punch, infinite potential kind of thing, you know what I mean? So, if we're looking at this fight, like, hyper-realistically, just, like, looking at their abilities and what each of them can do, theoretically, Flash should just be able to steal all of Sonic's speed and punch him with as much force as he wants. And he has enough, time, because he's stolen all of Sonic's speed in order to be able to punch him as much as he wants and as hard as he wants for as long as he wants, you know what I mean? So when you put Flash up against normal characters, or when you put Flash up against most characters, you know, those two abilities combined basically just give him the win in most versus debates you put him in. It's really overpowered. You know, the way that the Speed Force is written, not even in just the way it's shown, but in the way it's written, is just insanely overpowered. And he doesn't use the Infinite Mass Punch all the time. He uses the kinetic energy stealing even less, but, you know, he still has those abilities, you know? So, yeah, just looking at those right off the bat, those are some things that Sonic is going to have a lot of trouble working around. But I don't want to jump to any conclusions just yet, so now let's talk about what Sonic is capable of. So when it comes to power and durability, Sonic is pretty broken. He's much more powerful than normal Sonic. There's this one feat in the comics where he clashed with Knuckles. They created an explosion that completely annihilated the dimension that they were in, and they were able to survive this explosion, because, you know, they were hit right in the middle of it, and they both survived it. So when it comes, and this is just base Sonic, by the way, so when you look at base Sonic, his power output and durability, it's not a stretch to say that it's around the universe-breaking level, you know? And that's definitely above the point that Flash is at normally when it comes to his power and durability. Again, theoretically, he should be able to reach that point with the Infinite Mass Punch. It would take him much longer to charge, of course, because, you know, the normal level is White Dwarf Star level, so he could theoretically reach that point, but in terms of just, you know, the attacks that they do normally, like their average attacks, on average, Sonic is more powerful. Flash needs the Infinite Mass Punch, and a really powerful one at that, in order to be able to match that kind of power and durability. When it comes to durability, you know, Flash definitely doesn't have universe-breaking durability, and both of them can phase. Like, we've seen Flash phase through matter, but we've also seen Sonic do it, I believe, so, you know, that kind of is the own durability hacks right there that they both have. So when looking at it like this, you know, Sonic has the power and durability advantages, and Flash has the advantage when it comes to just his powers and his hacks, which again, we've kind of already talked about before. We've talked about the big ones. And when it comes to speed, the overall speed advantage, I have no idea. The speed advantage is really messy because, you know, of course Wally West has that feat where he outran instantaneous transmission or instantaneous teleportation, but he was only able to do that when he basically contacted all of Earth, told everyone to start moving around as much as they could in order to absorb all of his kinetic energy, and then he did it. And this included superheroes like Superman, you know, and other ridiculously fast characters, that he just absorbed all of their speed. So this is definitely not something that Wally West can just replicate whenever he wants. He can't just, you know, travel that fast whenever he wants to. And when it comes to Sonic, he was able to outrun, like, a beam of time, which I have no idea how you even analyze that. I don't know if that means he has immeasurable speed. I don't know if that means that he barely has any speed at all, you know, compared to the Flash. I have no idea. I want to say that Flash is probably faster on average, at least on average, because Wally West is insanely fast, you know, even just on a normal day. I'm not trying to sell anyone short here. But regardless, I don't think it's to the same extent that the other advantages that I've outlined are, at least in my opinion. And when it comes to the versatility of these characters, there is way too much to go over. It would take a whole other video just to list the versatility of each of these characters. It's really that crazy. But again, you know, just like how Flash has, you know, kinetic energy stealing and Infinite Mass Punch stuff and like all of that overpowered stuff, Sonic has some pretty overpowered stuff too, just inherently. For one thing, I want to get this out of the way, Sonic actually has resisted speed siphoning before. Like, he was actually able to restore his stolen speed. He didn't get all of his speed stolen, but he got a lot of his speed stolen, and he was able to restore it. However, this was only done because he was able to get his hands on numerous power rings, and I don't think Sonic carries numerous power rings just whenever he wants, or all the time, you know? But that's kind of an awkward situation where it's like he has a very specific counter to one of the Flash's most overpowered abilities, but I don't think he normally has this counter on him. So it's really weird. I don't know how Death Battle is going to analyze this. I'm not really going to talk about this too much because, again, you know, then I start getting into hypotheses that I may or may not be, you know, confident in. But also talking about what Sonic can do. He's got his super forms, and, you know, these are pretty generic. You know, he gets a big boost in terms of power and speed and durability. When it comes to durability, he's practically physically invulnerable. Like, you know, there's supersonic, I believe there's also ultrasonic, is that right? There's at least supersonic. And, you know, his power output, you know, scales to characters like in the multi-universal range, or possibly even further than that. So, you know, that just adds to his own power output. I don't believe it has the same kinds of time limits. as, the ones from the games, or the super forms from the games. And this could be a good counter to something like the Infinite Mass Punch, because again, physically invulnerable. But it still wouldn't be a great counter to kinetic energy stealing, assuming that he doesn't have, the necessary means to counter that. But Sonic still has a lot of wild cards on his side. For example, when he absorbed 1 billion power rings, he acquired this thing called the 1 billion power ring aura, I think it's called, something like that, which does a number of things, but the biggest things that it does is that it protects his life force, and it practically makes him immortal in a certain aspect. Now, the reason why I say in a certain aspect is because the term immortality can vary dependent on what medium you're looking at. Sometimes immortality just means you can't die by old age, but sometimes immortality means that not only can you not die by old age, it also means that no one can kill you. You just can't die by any means. There are very different types of immortality. So, we've seen Sonic come back from being erased from existence before, although I don't think it was like an immediate quick fix. Like, it took a long time. It was a really weird thing. I don't want to get into it too much. But regardless, that does kind of imply that, Sonic can just come back, it's that kind of immortality, but I'm not sure if there's an overwhelming amount of evidence to support that he just can't die in battle. But then even then, he's got even more stuff, on his plate. Like, he's got space-time manipulation, which works even better, when it comes to speed, because that's space divided by time is speed, He's also apparently got some sort of cartoon abilities, like he's got Toon Force, he's got, or at least to a certain degree, he can use Hammer Space, which is like that whole magic satchel technique. Apparently he can like affect his storyline and stuff like that from the outside, kind of like Bugs Bunny style, and break the fourth wall and stuff like that, so that's not overpowered at all. And on top of all of that, you even have stuff like fate manipulation, or quote-unquote fate manipulation. Because apparently, after becoming an embodiment of chaos, after absorbing so many power rings, like, Sonic has just become a fluke in the system, on the quantum level, and that just means that things, like, fate will always be on his side, that things will work out for him, paraphrasing Dr. Eggman. So, yeah, they basically gave an in-universe explanation for why Sonic is so overpowered in comparison to everyone else, and why he doesn't lose. It's basically an in-universe explanation for Toon Force. It's an in-universe explanation for why he's able to do everything that he does, for why he's so overpowered, for why he always wins. So, yeah, yeah, okay. Now, there is one more thing I want to go over with these characters in terms of comparing them directly, and that's just comparing the Chaos Force in Sonic versus the Speed Force in Flash, or in DC. There is a case to be made that both of these characters could theoretically absorb the entirety of their respective force, even though those characters specifically haven't done it before. Like, we saw, Sonic now has his connection to Chaos in the same way, that Knuckles and Shadow have their connection to Chaos in their own specific ways, and Knuckles was able to absorb the entirety of the Chaos Force. So theoretically, you could make an argument that Sonic could absorb the entirety of the Chaos Force. And when it comes to the Speed Force, we've seen other Flashes, notably Barry Allen and Bart Allen, absorb the entirety of the Speed Force for, very specific circumstances. So you could make the argument that Wally West could also absorb the entirety of the Speed Force. And believe it or not, absorbing the entirety of the Chaos Force actually puts you on a higher level. When Knuckles absorbed the entirety of the Chaos Force, he not only was able to just bend reality to his will, but he also ascended to a higher plane of existence, like a higher dimensional plane of existence. Now, that on its own doesn't sound too impressive, or it might not sound like a big deal, but in the context of the DC universe, it actually is an extremely big deal. At least in the way that it works with DC, if you're from a higher dimensional plane, like the fifth dimension, like Mr. Miggs' Pitlick, you have infinite power from the perspective of everyone from the dimension below you, like the fourth dimension, the third dimension, etc., etc. And while he doesn't have infinite power, because again, like characters higher up on the ladder, like from the sixth dimension or seventh dimension, would have much more power than him, still, from the perspective of fourth dimensioners and third dimensioners, Mr. Miggs' Pitlick is just infinitely powered. So, if you were to ascend to a higher plane of existence, like the Chaos Force apparently can allow you to do, then it doesn't matter how fast the Flash is. It doesn't matter how much speed he can siphon. Basically Sonic would have gotten to this level where he's basically untouchable by those kinds of third dimensional abilities. And it doesn't matter how much Speed Force Flash draws, he's not going to be able to reach that kind of level. The Speed Force on its own is ridiculously overpowered, I understand that, and absorbing the entirety of the Speed Force makes you even more overpowered, but it doesn't allow you to, become a fourth dimensional being or anything like that. It doesn't allow you to become, a multiversal level character. Even when they say that they've absorbed the entirety of the Speed Force, even though it encompasses the entire multiverse, you're only allowed to absorb the Speed Force that's available to you in your own universe. So they actually make a really big point of, not making you this insanely powerful character, that has infinite power over, the characters in your dimension, So when looking at them side by side, the Chaos Force absorbing the entirety of the Chaos Force and absorbing the entirety of the Speed Force, the Chaos Force actually appears to be better. And plus, Flashes don't really like absorbing the entirety of the Speed Force because that leads to some really bad consequences most of the time. And I don't think the Chaos Force has exactly those same problems. But yeah, and that could make the argument that just Chaos Force is more powerful than Speed Force if Death Battle decides to go that route. So even after all of this, we're still kind of faced with the same problem as before, in the sense that, if we're looking at this fight hyper-realistically, like looking at their abilities and what they theoretically could be able to do right at the start of the fight, even if Flash doesn't typically do this, he should be able to just steal all of Sonic's speed and, infinite mass punch him to death before Sonic gets the chance to do anything, So, yeah, if you look at it like that, then, Flash wins. He wins pretty easily. But if you're looking at it, another way, like if you're looking at just all of their feats, all of their accomplishments, and their maximum potential in any sense of the word, then, yeah, Sonic wins, because he's got too many physics-breaking abilities. He's got, better power, better durability, and ultimately he has better ways to overcome Flash's advantages than the other way around. If you're looking just at this fight as a whole and the abilities that they have, then Sonic wins. But if you're looking at it really realistically, then again, Flash could just steal speed and use infinite mass punches. So really, it's more about trying to analyze how Death Battle is going to analyze it, As I said at the beginning of the video, again, I'm not really sure who I would say would win if I was doing this fight myself, because again, this is just one headache and a half of a fight, but it's more about trying to analyze how Death Battle is going to do it, and, I find that that's always really difficult to do because you never really know. I know I'm taking a complete shot in the dark here. I'm not fully knowledgeable about either of these characters, of course, and, I know people are going to disagree with me no matter what I say, but ultimately, I have a feeling that Death Battle is going to go more with the Archie Sonic route. And I say that because there are more strings you could pull on with Sonic. Again, when looking at his maximum potential, when looking at both of their maximum potentials, and looking at their feats and their accomplishments and everything like that, as I'm sure Death Battle will do, because again, they like looking at maximum potentials, then Sonic, again, he's just too much. He has too many physics-breaking abilities, he has better resistances to the advantages that Flash has over Sonic than the other way around, at least in my opinion, again, when looking at their maximum potential. And yeah, he seems to be the perfect mix of an overpowered speedster character and an overpowered cartoon character that can, again, break physics, that can basically just do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, again, like fate manipulation or whatever the hell it's called, that kind of thing, being able to just have fate on your side whenever, it's that kind of overpowered stuff that I feel like there's a better case you can make for Sonic winning than the other way around. What I find Death Battle likes to do is that they like to have a quantity of arguments, rather than just having like a couple things to say. I think it's more likely they're going to say Sonic has this and this and this and this and this, which they could potentially say, because again, he has a lot of advantages or a lot of different points you could bring up. I think it's more likely they're going to go that route than they're just going to say, yeah, Flash can steal speed and, punch as hard as he wants. I feel like it's more likely they're going to talk about these characters as a whole rather than, what could realistically happen. So I think they're going to go more with the Sonic route. And, it's not like them to say, oh, a character would be too slow to bring out a super form, you know what I mean? Again, even if that is realistic, it's not something that they typically do. So, again, I could be completely wrong. Flash, I love you. No matter what happens in this fight, I'm not going to change my opinion of you. Same goes for you, Sonic, but ultimately, just based on what I know of Death Battle and what I think is going to happen, could be completely wrong. I'm probably going to get this one wrong. I'm having second thoughts already, but ultimately, I'm thinking that Archie Sonic's going to win this fight. Could be wrong, but only time will tell. With that being said, I know I pissed off a ton of people by saying what I said, so let me know down in the comments below why you disagree or why you agree. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I would just ask for everyone to be civil in the comments, because I know this is one death battle that could get a lot of people screaming at each other, so please don't scream at each other, please don't scream at me, I'm not going to scream at you, so let's just all be civil in the comments even if we disagree. I think that's possible, right? Can we do it? Let's try to do that. And if you enjoyed this video, please give this video a huge like. I always appreciate the likes. Comment your comments. Subscribe if you could too, that'd be amazing. If there's anything I missed or anything I got wrong, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. I'm really excited for this fight, but oh my god, this is a crazy fight. So, I don't know. I'm already regretting making this entire prediction, but we're gonna see what happens. I'm excited for it. I hope you guys are excited for it too. And yeah, that's it for me. I will see all of you guys in the next video. Peace out.